Hey everyone, thank you so much for first of all coming to this talk. My name is Marco. I'm a software engineer at Riot Games, and today I'm just really excited to share with you guys like how my team rolled out DBT at Riot and how it's helped shape our developer experience for our teams that are working with data. Most people probably know Riot for League of Legends, of course, but over the years, we've grown far beyond that. We've launched titles like Valorant, Teamfight Tactics, Wild Rift, Legends of Runeterra. We also have a new fighting game coming out later this year, 2XKO. Encourage you guys to check it out when it launches. It's a lot of fun. But we're also not about games anymore, right? We've branched out into music, comic books, animation. Notably with Arcane on Netflix. And so, as we build more for our players and our fans, it becomes like that much more important to try to understand them, right? How they play, what they care about, what keeps them engaged. And so for us, data plays, a critical role in all that. At Riot, it's our mission to be the most player-focused game company in the world. And so I think for us to achieve that mission, we need to empower developers across the company to be able to confidently and effectively work with data. And so that's kind of where my team comes in, right? We build a developer platform, a data platform, and help shape that developer experience around it. And for us, DBT has become like a big part of that experience. It's helping us bring more people into the development process, achieve insights faster, and ultimately better serve the millions of players that we have across the world. Just really quickly, I just want to rewind a bit and talk about what actually led us to DBT in the first place. And also, by the way, when I'm talking about in an SDLC, we're talking about the software development lifecycle, basically the end-to-end development process that our devs work in, from writing code to getting that code into production to making sure it runs reliably. And so, since 2021, we supported an SDLC based on Airflow, Databricks, and PySpark. But it's been a powerful system that's enabled a wide range of use cases across the company with over 130 contributors. You can see some additional stats about our system here. But it served us well for a few years. But as Riot has grown and some of our as our data needs have expanded, we started to feel some of those strains in our system. We had a lot of pipelines that were bespoke, which made it difficult to reuse and maintain and standardize. We had a lot of PySpark notebooks that brought us a lot of flexibility, but they're really hard to test and hard to maintain. And so we also had a really high barrier of entry for our analysts and developers that are looking to work with data. And so we started to wonder, like, we believed that we could offer something more for our developers, and so we started to wonder what we could bring, what could come next for us. And so of course, DBT is what came next. And for you guys that aren't familiar with DBT, DBT is a data transformation tool that enables teams to work to build data workflows using mostly SQL. It also brings a lot of the traditional software engineering principles like testing, modularity, and version control into the data space. And so over the years, and I'm sure a lot of you guys noticed, like DBT has kind of taken the data engineering role by storm in a lot of ways. And at Riot, we wanted to see what the hype was about. And so last year, we started to prototype a few different workflows using DBT. And I think really quickly, we started to realize that it gave us something we didn't have before, a very unified and scalable foundation for modeling data. And so in practice, what we saw was like a very streamlined process through SQL, which meant now our analysts could start contributing to our SDLC and be able to build production-grade models without having to learn all these other technologies like PySpark. We also got built-in testing, which allowed us to validate assumptions, catch issues early, and just be able to ship more reliable pipelines. But a real first test for DBT at Riot was 2XKO. Riot's upcoming fighting game, like I mentioned. And because it was a brand new title, the team was really eager to start, of course, generating insights as early as possible to help guide their development. And so, the team started with a blank slate. They had no legacy pipelines. They had no data warehouse. And so it really gave us all a unique opportunity to ask ourselves a bold question: is what would it look like if they, from day one, used DBT to build their data warehouse? And I think the team really stepped up to that challenge, and the results have been really impressive. In just a few months, they were able to stand up, like a full production analytics stack. They deployed over 150 models that have supported their early play tests. And so, these insights are helping the team make data-driven decisions during development, just helping shape that player experience, before the game even launches. They also didn't just validate our approach around DBT. They also, started to set a new standard for us at Riot, how teams could build with data. And also, it became one of the catalysts for further adoption of DBT at Riot. Another area where DBT really shined early for us was in R&D, right? And at Riot, our R&D teams operate a little bit differently from our other game teams. Their mission is to rapidly prototype new game concepts and then pivot when something isn't working, right? And also historically, this has meant they operate really lean. They have really limited resources, usually to things like embedded engineers, data engineers, who prior to DBT, they were essential just to build up a very basic data pipeline. And so as a result for these R&D teams, analytics often became a bottleneck, right? Either insights came late or sometimes not at all. And so with DBT, we were able to start kind of flipping that dynamic in a lot of ways, right? Because analysts could work mostly with SQL, they could now directly build in the transformation layer without having to wait on these additional engineering resources to free up to help them build these pipelines, right? They were able to build models and test assumptions and just be able to iterate rapidly. So that's kind of agility is really important in the early stage development process where telemetry and schema changes, regularly. And so, it's nice to have a tool that can move as fast as these game ideas do, right? And so as a result, these R&D teams were able to have some actionable insights just delivered earlier in the development life cycle and helping teams just make better decisions faster. So once 2xGo and these R&D teams really started to show what was possible with DBT, pretty quickly other teams started to take notice of the accessibility, the speed, the flexibility that it brought to our data workflows. And so today, DBT is starting to be used across some of our biggest teams at Riot, right? Very recently, the data engineering team that supports League of Legends and Team Fight Tactics, they ran an evaluation of DBT and looking to understand what would it look like for them to build their data pipelines in DBT instead of our legacy SDLCs. And the results from that evaluation were compelling enough for them to now commit to use DBT for all their new pipeline work and have started plans around migrating some of their legacy pipelines as well. But it's also not just our game teams. We also have teams building models around social data to help them better understand player interactions. We have teams working with publishing data to power campaign performance tracking. My own team actually uses dbt to build models to better understand developer operations and just giving us visibility into CI/CD telemetry and platform health. And finally, we also have teams working with finance data to help power cost-saving efforts. So at this point, dbt has become a really foundational part of our data stack at Riot, and one of those default tools that teams reach for when they're looking at building new data workflows. So now I've talked a little bit about the journey of DBT at Riot this far, and I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about how we actually integrated DBT into our ecosystem and some of the lessons that we learned along the way, right? It was one of my team's goals to make sure that dbt didn't just exist in a silo. We wanted it to, we wanted it to fit seamlessly without, throughout into our broader data engineering ecosystem, right? So, we aim to build an SDLC around it that focus on automation and quality and scalability, and also just as importantly, right, we wanted it to be inclusive. We designed everything with a goal of lowering that barrier of entry, so that anyone, including our analysts, could confidently contribute to these production workflows. And so, since last year, we've had over 40 Rioters contribute to these dbt projects and write over 450 production models. And so in practice, what my team built is, we integrated dbt with Airflow, right? Something that was familiar to our engineers. It was also really flexible. It also supported our initial dbt core setup. And since then, we started working with dbt Cloud, but we wanted Airflow to be accessible to anyone, and we didn't want to have analysts have to worry about writing, DAG code in Python. So we built a system around auto-generating these Airflow DAGs for them, so that anyone, including non-engineers, could safely deploy and schedule their models in production. We also use Terraform to create and manage DB projects programmatically, so we have consistency across all of our projects in dbt Cloud. Also, our metadata from our dbt models is automatically synced to Atlan, which is our catalog of choice at Riot, and so it ensures that our models are discoverable and documented and governed, just like the rest of our data assets. For observability, we've also set up Slack alerting. We've built monitoring dashboards so teams have visibility when things go wrong. And then finally, we're using the dbt Cloud ID, which gives both engineers and analysts like a very streamlined, browser-based experience. And just putting this all together for us, it wasn't about just making dbt usable. We wanted it to be sustainable at scale at Riot. And just digging into the numbers a little bit, we were able to kind of confirm some of the early assumptions that we were making about how dbt would empower our analysts. So what we've seen is our analysts writing, building production models. They're running tests. They're creating macros. They're basically fully participating in our SDLC. And so in just over a year, we've seen our analysts' contributions grow from 2.6 in our legacy SDLC to over 21% in dbt, right? Which is almost a 10x increase. But again, this shift isn't just about making analysts more productive. It's about making teams more self-sufficient and freeing up engineering time, shortening the feedback loop between questions and insight, and just helping teams move faster. And of course, since this is a Databricks conference, I want to take a moment to highlight how dbt and SQL warehouses have opened up some new opportunities around moving our legacy Spark-based pipelines, or moving our, I just want to take a moment to highlight how dbt and SQL warehouses have opened up some opportunities around operational efficiency, right? Some of the areas that we've been tracking is time and compute overhead that we could eliminate by moving off of our Spark-based pipelines, right? And of course, like the big enabler and all that is dbt SQL-based approach, right? Because it operates entirely in SQL, we're able to move our transformation workloads from Spark clusters to SQL warehouses in Databricks. Something that wasn't really practical in our legacy SDLC. It's also so this transition is helping us eliminate cluster spin-up time and also Python dependency install time, which steps each of these steps are added several steps to several minutes to each of these jobs. And so just by removing that overhead, I think we estimate about 17% reduction in setup time per run. And when you scale that across 3,000 plus jobs that we have running each day, the time saving is pretty significant. I think we're estimating about 17 hours daily across all of our workloads if we were to move all our transformation pipelines to dbt. And so, as we continue to scale our adoption of DBT across teams, we're expecting these improvements to drive, reduce operational overhead, and drive, lower costs. And we also didn't just want to assume that DBT was working well for our team. So, we asked our developers directly. We surveyed our engineers and our analysts who use both of our legacy SDLC and DBT, and I think the feedback was pretty clear to us. We saw better reported developer velocity. We heard that writing tests was better or much easier for them. The local development experience was better. The modularity and code reuse improved a lot. And so for us, these aren't just vanity metrics. They translate directly to faster time to insights, fewer bugs, and just happier teams, which is all really important to us. So what's next for DBT at Riot? We're going to continue scaling adoption and just encouraging teams to migrate their legacy Spark-based pipelines into DBT, and we're also going to explore more of DBT Cloud's features, like DBT Mesh, to help us collaborate across projects without duplicating logic. We're going to look into semantic layer to help us centralize our metrics and making them more resilient to change. State-aware orchestration, so potentially we can move all of our orchestration to DBT directly, maybe making it even easier for our developers to manage their pipelines. Tableau exposures to track dashboard dependencies for better visibility and impact analysis. And so really we're just excited to see how DBT is going to continue to unlock even more player value for us at Riot in the years to come, hopefully. And I just want to take a quick moment to thank all the teams at Riot that have helped us throughout this journey and all the support and feedback. Also, huge kudos to the rest of my team, especially Zach here, who plays a huge role in all this. And again, just thanks for coming to this talk and making the time. I hope you guys took something out of this.